Hello, friends. This is Giuliano. It's the 2nd of May, 2022. So it's time for a monthly roundup, a weekly and monthly roundup. Let's jump into these price charts. That's why we're here. And we're going to start with Dogecoin. So we'll take a look at the weekly charts and get an idea for the levels. And then look at the monthly. We'll take a look at the shape. Yeah, overall, Doge is looking accumulative, but it's clear that it's not taking off just yet. Momentum wise, it might taper off, and we'll see where that leads. So that's a weekly price chart. We move into monthly time frame, and unfortunately getting rejected above the 20-month moving average. Get rid of you, goodbye. And currently below the 20-month moving average. Now, if this can be some sort of deviation, but as we were saying, it might need a bit more of a flattening, in which case maybe it's going to come down even further, which would mean on a weekly price chart, I don't know, maybe we'll see how that looks, but there's also the option, yeah, that it just plays around this 20-month moving average somehow. All right, Doge is looking decent, but on the monthly, it looks a little more precarious. So we'll see. We'll see. If we look again weekly as well, it's currently also below the 20-week moving average. So yeah, likely to come down to this level again, at least, you know. And if it goes even lower, because you keep making lower highs, then yeah, then this flattening here is just a redistribution through here, and then boom, you fall down further. And that's what we would be seeing on this monthly chart, price coming down to here and making it look more like this, but on the monthly time frame. But even then, like this hasn't really given much of a bounce yet before coming back down. There's only this little bit over here, this little bit over here, amongst a lot of selling wicks in between. Yeah, there's the Doge. Looking for the flattening. That's the best case scenario for Doge right here. RSI on the monthly is in the 50s, low 50s though. So if it can stabilize there, then you're in a decent position. Okay. Let's move on. We'll take a look at NEAR. We'll go through everything we've been looking at recently. On the monthly, wow, NEAR just looks bearish, but I mean, it could be an intermediate reaccumulation phase. However, let's put this into the weekly. So basically, you're just here. We can see the Bollinger Band starting to form, okay? Also, you've got these two big selling wicks here. So, I mean, maybe you get a third, but really, I don't think you start climbing back up fast and hard just yet. And you're at the top of the Bollinger Band here. Here's the 20-month moving average, and it's this price cluster here. So I think your next best bet is you're coming down to this 20-month moving average. Now, these are priced against BTC, right? So that was Doge BTC. This is NEAR BTC. These charts are going to look a bit different. But it's interesting. I'll find that stick around for more. The shape will be interesting as it comes, but we don't really have much data here at all either. So you're sure it could push higher in some sort of bull move against BTC. Totally possible. We'll see how it plays out, but a good bet also is that it's coming back down to this level. All right, that's NEAR. And on the weekly, yeah, you're kind of breaking down this channeling and lower into the Bollinger Bands here and Ichimoku cloud over here. So we'll see just starting to get that negative momentum again after some pretty strong positive momentum. So yeah, I think we're coming back down. All right, that's NEAR. If we go again monthly, we have no data on those other indicators. Okay, goodbye. At least we have a Bollinger Band indicator just starting. That does become helpful. So we go to RUNE. Okay, we have a bit more price data on RUNE. We kind of challenged the previous high here, but haven't challenged really the all-time high back there. Top of the Bollinger Band, we caught this last time here, and that's resistance. And now we're down at the 20-week already. Sorry, 20-month moving average already. Maybe get some support here. We're also at this price support level here. And then until then, the next level is down here. So I don't know what's going to happen, but RUNE, yeah, you're also at support at the 20-week moving average. You might get a bounce here, for RUNE. It's not out of the question, but I don't think you're going to be even coming to the top here. But then again, you never know. This might be the bounce that the support that launches to the next level to challenge previous all-time highs. But you got to turn above this horizontal level before that's a consideration, especially because now negative momentum is coming into play potentially. Although, yeah, you could become bigger in the green, similar to here, but it's doubtful. So we'll see. Let me get rid of these ones for now. I don't have these ideas that, especially the altcoin against BTC, things price against BTC like this, they don't necessarily move in the same fashion. And we're looking at these long-term plays, so it's even less easy to consider. So here's what we've got for RUNE on the monthly. That's about it. We're at potential support levels. Otherwise, it's immediate breakdown to much lower levels. All right, that's it for RUNE. Let's move on to ATOM against BTC. Boom. ATOM against BTC on the weekly has definitely become more of a horizontal chart. Remember, it was in a diagonally upwards triangulation. Now we're heavy into the negative momentum. We can totally get rid of our divergence that was formed. And yeah, we're at this horizontal level that needs to hold. If it doesn't hold, then you're coming down to this price chunks down here. And when we look at it, you're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band. Now, you've already broken below the Ichimoku cloud, lower end of the Bollinger Band. Yeah, that's about it. You're at an important price level. And that green, let's get rid of this box here. It's now resistance, but let's not worry about it. We've got the Ichimoku cloud up there and the 20-week moving average as levels. Cool. And I mean, at least, okay, so here you're much lower in the RSI. This is the weekly though. If you start breaking below that, then you start getting into bearish territory. So if you can kind of hold even for a little bit, at least that's something. And but ultimately there's always a chance you're coming down to this level here. Okay, so let's carve that out right about here. Yeah, with some deviations. So we'll kind of bring you there. All right. And then we go to the monthly. We say, boom, yeah, we're at that a lot of 20-month moving average coming into play. So clearly, if that doesn't hold, then you're right at that same line. It's all the same. You're coming down to this level here. Okay, I think that's it. That's ATOM. You're just starting to go towards negative momentum again, on the histogram. You're about to have a cross. It might not cross on the monthly, a MACD cross, but a bearish MACD cross. But I mean, looks like it. Now, having said that, again, yeah, you might not have that. We'll see. We'll see. It's coming quick though. Lower end of the Bollinger Band. Yeah, stick around for more. We'll find out where this goes. Okay, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button and yeah, let's go share it with somebody that likes this kind of stuff too or is interested. Okay, so we have the divergence. It's starting to play out here. We're going to get negative momentum. We're going to break down this channel, this uptrend, sorry, I should say. And we've got this horizontal level here. that corresponds also with the lower end of the Bollinger Band down here in this price levels, okay, of support and resistance. So there you go. Let's see what happens. That's the weekly for Luna against BTC. And then, wow, monthly is not going to be fun, is it? Let's get rid of, so we had this primary trend here, we might call it, from this low to this low. And then we have this next trend here that broke away from the first line, right? And it's being broken, okay? And on a monthly, wow, who's looking at this? I don't know, but if these are not tweezer tops, then they're very close. And wow, that's just bearish, okay? Candlestick, Japanese, candlestick looking bearish. It will turn out to be some sort of deviation above this level, is my guess. You know, let's change the color for that. Let's bang that out into a reddish color. Okay, so that's the guess. Now, of course, possible that it won't be, but hey, here it's going to come down. Here's this 20-month moving average. I mean, everything else has come down to its 20-month moving average. So, you know, none of this financial advice, but you're also still in the overbought position. I mean, if this is not a call for a short, then I don't know what is. Okay. Now, the only way, like, I don't know if you can short Luna BTC. If you can only short Luna USD, then that's a different story. Because, hey, let's just imagine a world where BTC goes up so hard and fast against USD. Even if Luna just dumps against BTC, on some level, it might, I don't know, go sideways against USD. But anyway, I think some of these charts are pointing us towards further downside in the whole market. And Luna is definitely a chart that shows weakness, at least based on this candle formation at the top here. We'll see how it plays out. We're at the top of the Bollinger Bands as well. It exceeded the Bollinger Band up here. Back into it now within the bands, but definitely at the upper end. And here's that 20-month moving average. So that's where we're looking now next. And that's wild. So let's see how this works out, okay? Luna against BTC. MATIC. So stick around for that Luna. Share this with your Luna friends. Clip it and share it. Not to be like cocky or anything like that. I have no idea what's going to happen, and definitely been wrong a lot. Okay, so don't listen to me, but just stick around and watch, because we carve out levels and we look at the price action, and over time it seems to be following what we've said. You know, we didn't know what's going to happen against this trend line, but all likelihood is, you know, you make a trend line from a low and a low, then you come challenge it. If you break away from it again, I mean, the next time you come to it, there's definitely a good chance it's going to break down. Each time you come to it, there's a chance it's going to break down. So this time it did, and it really dumped hard after it broke a lower than this Ichimoku cloud. And now we're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band, and we've gotten some decent amount of negative momentum, but it does have to still play itself out. So what does that mean for the price? Maybe it means slow down here, similar to what you had here, and just even it out. But then the other option is after that, or even before that, is an acceleration of dump. Lower end of the Bollinger Band just drops down, and you start capitulating further. Now we'll see. Where is this? You're below 40, so you're in a bit of a bearish zone for all of for the RSI, and this definitely negative momentum could continue further, especially the MACD signal lines could continue further into the negative territory. But let's take a look on our monthly for MATIC against BTC. Yeah, there's room to go down towards that 20-month moving average down here. However, you do have this horizontal price action here. So we'll see how this ends up working, if this can support it. But overall, you really you pushed hard and exceeded the Bollinger Bands here. Next likelihood is even to break below the 20-month moving average, but we'll see how that works. Again, you're just starting some negative momentum here. Monthly time frame takes a lot longer though. Are things going to be wrecked for a while, or is it going to find some sort of support in this level and then go higher? There's totally chances. This is MATIC against BTC. This could be something of a bigger picture play. And currently still in the 50s on the RSI on the monthly. So yeah. However, trends are seemingly down. At least this one is above this price cluster here, but it's at the lower end and it's at this 20-month moving average. That's going to be the signal of whether or not it's going to stay bullish. You know, above all of this, it stays bullish. Below it means some sort of crazy washout. I don't even understand yet. All right, so that's MATIC against BTC on the monthly. Now, we take AVAX against BTC, and on the weekly, yeah, breaking down finally is breaking down. So send that. It's going lower, and this, yeah, this Bollinger Band, lower end of the Bollinger Band, it's like if you don't get a bounce here to the upside, very danger zone, because then you're coming down to this level here. And that means, oops, we already have it in this horizontal line. So that means then you're challenging the lower end of the Bollinger Band. I mean, we did say all along you might come to this lower end of this uptrend, but then if you're doing that again, who's to say? I mean, yeah, if you've been watching, we have shown these kinds of ideas. It might not have been on this one, but I remember that maybe that was Luna that we showed that. I don't know. These are totally possible. But right now, the interesting thing about Avalanche is that you've got narrow Bollinger Bands, so that means there's going to be volatility. And currently, it's looking like it's to the downside, so that's going to be interesting. How you know, compared to some others, yeah, you're in the 40s, mid 40s of the RSI, so. Definitely could, if you're going lower, you could be in a bearish position here, and then you'd also be breaking below this type of support level of the RSI. So that'll be interesting. And on the weekly, I mean, you're still so positive with your MACD and signal lines here, but you have gone quite negative in the histogram. So we'll see how this plays out, Avalanche, if it's going to be longer term bullish. But again, this is against BTC. So these price charts, I mean, who knows how they're going to play against BTC? What's BTC's next move in the big macro scheme, and how's that going to play against the price of other altcoins? Because when BTC makes huge moves, then altcoins often dump against BTC when it makes huge moves either down or up. But okay, we know this. So now we go to the monthly price charts. And yeah, I mean, it's significant when you break levels like this and you have lower, you know, you're declining volume. We'll see though, if yeah, upper end of the Bollinger Band. So here's the 20-month moving average starting to form. It's at this uptrending where we said the price is likely to come. So there you go. I mean, lower, you have this price cluster here, there are a couple bars cluster. It's just a couple bars. It's the same close and open level, 1 month to the next. But anyway, so there you go. That's Avalanche. I mean, it's got room to go down. That's all. But it's like against BTC, the ones that are down also have room to go down. I mean, if we do this as a price chart against BTC, still, at least then you got a Bollinger Band that's telling you there's a chance you can go up a bit, but then there's a likelihood you're going to still stay down and go further down. That's the only thing that would be the Bollinger Bands in your favor there. Okay, let's get that's monthly on Avalanche. Yeah, let's get out of there. And again, we don't have a lot of price data on these. They could keep going higher. They're at the top of the Bollinger Band. Doesn't mean they need to come down. They could continue higher. They totally could. see. Just takes a 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months. It could be a bit of volatility in between. Go down a bunch, one candle, huge wick, whatever. Who knows? But I don't know. The way it's shaping up, it's the thing. Is the shapes they resemble each other, and so between charts, but also within the same chart on different time frames. That's the scary part, is when a monthly chart looks like this, then you're like, well, how much time does it have to continue being bearish before it looks bullish again? The only way this looks bullish is if it somehow finds its support here, let's say at the 20-month moving average, and goes higher. And you know what? That's a very good possibility. That would be huge if it does that. But a lot of times that's not what ends up happening. And I mean, yeah, on the monthly level, you know what, you could still, you could do this and still come up here and do these things before, you know, you could be 2026, 2028, 2029 before you really come in a super bear market. I get it, or whatever, something like that, even here in 2025. But it seems like more likely you come down first and then go up. Anyway, so that's kind of the sentiment we got here. So anyway, okay, let's come back to this. This is Solana. You're hanging out in the middle of nowhere. You're creating your own base here based on just a previous close and open level, and which is significant in its own way, but because it's a monthly time frame. But yeah, so you got your basing forming, but it looks like it's just an intermediate redistribution scenario. And then it's going to go lower towards this 20-month. But then you got nothing there except this 20-month moving average. And then it might go lower down here. However, again, these are against USD, against BTC. So if BTC against USD has to go down and Solana against USD needs to stay at a certain level higher, then the BTC price against Solana, sold BTC, is going to might chop around here and not have to go down all the way here. Yeah, we'll see. So far, it looks like it's coming down here, and then but does it really? No, if it comes down here, this is crazy markets, and I guess that makes the most sense. The only thing is that it could be putting in some sort of, it could go one more. I don't know when that'll be. So that's totally possible. We could be hitting these 20-month moving averages, popping up one more time, and then having something bigger. That's totally possible. I'll give you that for sure. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I really actually wouldn't, because then that would give time on the weeklies. That would give time for the price and the momentum indicators to, you know, to do that. And so in that case, you'd be doing that. Well, I don't think it would be doing quite that, you know, something like that, whatever. Yeah, I get the sense that it could be doing these things. Maybe it wouldn't go that high, right? Maybe it would just go like this. But if it's coming down here. Well, why not? You could even get some wicks down here, or even full body candle action down here on a monthly, really, and then still go higher. That's very likely, and it might look like this somehow. Totally possible, and then come down like that. Now, I don't know, what are these monthly charts going to look like against Bitcoin long term? I'm just drawing, you know, imaginary lines now, just out of nowhere. So we're going to watch. There's barely any data here. What shape is this going to end up taking? When we look, for example, at Monero on the monthly chart, we see it does these kinds of things. It was not as many months, though, interestingly, on some of these other price charts. It's like 1, 2, 3 months, maybe you get 3 months of action to the upside, but it's huge volatile moves. In these newer, like the the 2020, 2021, let's call it bull market, AKA in its own right, you could consider it some sort of bubble. In that move, there were many more months of action that built to the upside, whereas, so now let's see what it looks like to the downside. We'll see. These might be more traditional with like a huge dump down and then kind of keep moving higher. That's, I guess, possible, but anyway, whatever. Let's not go there. Not enough data anyway, so stick around for more. This is Solana, I guess, BTC. You got this 20-month moving average before you need to concern about this lower box, and in this lower box is this price action here, and below that you start falling down here. So 20-month moving average, keep an eye out. Weekly price chart. I mean, we've gone through a nice full cycle of negative momentum here with this decreasing and increasing, like relatively negative and relatively positive in the negative histogram. And then you could get some more relatively negative before relatively positive here. I mean, you did a huge move into the positive territory with the MACD and signal lines. So you might need to clear out more time in the negative territory, and then you can go higher. So yeah, dump lower seems likely. All right, we'll see though. Okay, might not. This 20-month moving average can save it right here. All right, that's it for now on Solana. Okay, next we look at FTM. So FTM took a massive beating. Looks like one of those high rooftop houses, homes. This is like, wow. So yeah, you know, these bull markets took many, this was weeks. If we look at the monthly, this is more of a shorter time frame that it took. Wow, big blow off at the top there. And it has just 3 months in a row, this huge dump. Will it get relief at this second level? So we're already down at this mid level here that we had carved out based on the weekly price chart, most likely. Yeah, we did that with this price action here. So it got a little bit of a bounce, but on the weekly, that's just below the Ichimoku cloud. So bearish phantom for a while now. We're going to see how it plays out. Does it need to come back into this price action here, down here, or can it stay above? Staying above, relatively bullish, because then you're kind of here, and we'll see how it plays with Ichimoku cloud coming. But more than likely, it's coming down to this level. Does it go lower? Wow, we don't know, but I think we fill this price level as well at some point. Maybe it bounces first. I don't know. But that's taking a beating for sure. It might as well at some point also go lower than this, but you never know. Maybe this becomes a nice bounce point, but it seems like it might go lower than this. Okay, and it comes. I mean, you might as well wash it all the way out. But in that case, then what happens to FTM and the price chart? We'll see. But this upward channel that we've seen in a couple of the other price charts, it has been broken down significantly now. So let's leave that be. And then we're also at this kind of lower end of the Bollinger Band, so maybe it will find a bit of relief here, but maybe this is where it'll be doing its redistribution before it turns over, you know? We'll see. Okay. That, you know, let's just take an eye here. This is 2023 right here, okay? So there's a good chance the rest of 2022 is part of a considered a bear market, but really a good time to get set up to buy what you like at lower levels, and not to be impatient no need for impatience. Find the good levels and use them when they arrive. Yeah, find the good levels and use them when they arrive for you. And don't be impatient. Like, this might be a good level, but it might only be intermediate. This might be the type of good level, or maybe it's a little higher, you know, kind of with like this level, you know, whatever, you find it out. You do your laddering, you do whatever you need to do. Good luck. Now, monthly time frame, did we look? Yeah, we did, and we're down here. Now we're at the underside. Okay, so in the previous month, it broke below the 20-month moving average. Now we're at the underside of the 20-month moving average, getting rejected with a bit of a wick. This is still the very beginning of the month, so who knows? All of these price charts, it's just the beginning of the month. So those candles that we've looked at are not necessarily the closing prices. So anything, a lot can happen this month. These charts could look a lot more bullish by the end of this month, depending what happens. Okay, but this is against BTC, so I'm doubtful. So getting currently rejected by the 20-month moving average underside. So yeah, could be coming straight down to here, or maybe somewhere within. Then again, like I said, it could pop back above and save itself for another month or two. So yeah, anyway, we'll see. But you're just starting to get this negative momentum histogram. You're just getting a bearish MACD cross on the monthly. Not super strong at all. Okay, FTM on the monthly. Now we go to DOT. Ooh, DOT on the weekly, broke down this hopeful support line, uptrending, but really horizontal levels are really the best idea. Holding your hopes, holding our hopes on uptrending and downtrending support and resistance, it's good, but not holding the hopes. Horizontal levels is better for hopes. They're more stable for the hopes to rest. But horizontal levels that are too high are not always the best idea either. Anyway, this horizontal level that we've just entered could be a good level. It's at the lower end of the Bollinger Band here. So we'll see what needs to happen with this DOT price chart. It's had quite a number of weeks of negative momentum, but it doesn't seem to be making a turn yet in the histogram. And now in a bearish zone here, potentially here at the high 30s of the RSI. So especially if it goes below this point here, then I imagine you're in a dump situation and you could be coming down to this lower bar, horizontal level. Okay. And let's see what we corroborate with the monthly. On the monthly, you did get rejected by the 20-month moving average on the underside. So lower end of the Bollinger Band down here could make your price all the way down here. So that's down here. So yeah, start coming down here possibly. So lower end of the Bollinger Band, lower end of that price seems about right. Okay, let's keep an eye out for this for DOT. On the monthly, so okay. Well, let's keep going. So let's go to XMR against BTC. So now we'll get an idea of like, okay, in terms of weeks, yeah, there was a lot of weeks in between the first big bump and the next big pump. And this is in, well, this was in 2016, right? And then you get the 26 to 17 pump and then into the into the final push of 2017, 2018, before the big bear market in alts against BTC for many years, multi-year downtrend against BTC. So when we look at it on the weekly, getting rejected by Ichimoku Cloud, you're back below the downtrend. You're in the top of the Bollinger Band range and looking to get lower towards the 20-week moving average. Momentum turning towards the negative side. You haven't gotten a cross yet with the MACD bearish cross, but I mean, there's a possibility you'll get a third island green, but it's less likely, I would imagine. Okay. Especially if you're getting rejected at this 20-month moving average. I mean, if you're going to get a red candle here, you're getting rejected at the 20-month moving average. That's a bit more bearish. I mean, ideally, though, you only need 2 bottoms here. A third means good likelihood to potentially break down further towards here. And then, well, then you regroup from there, I guess. The good thing Monero has going forward is that it's just kind of a horizontal level of momentum, and it could continue with some green momentum, but you know, green momentum doesn't always mean prices going up. Like this is part of the green momentum here. If you look, see this green momentum here, we've got this declining price action. However, it is, you know, negative. This is like relatively negative going, you know, like it's not positive trending. However, it is still green in over here. So what does that mean? It means just because you have a bit of green here doesn't mean it's going to keep going higher. But yeah, again, the good thing is that it could just trend down. Look, you don't need a lot of red negative, but because a lot of the dumping happens while it's kind of going relatively negative in this green histogram, in these positive histograms. Okay, by the time you're in the negative space, you're like bottoming out here. See that? Negative space, bottoming out here. So we'll see. Maybe you're going to get, again, a dumping down here, and then I'll pump back up. But question is, you know, for any of these and all of these is, do you make your top and then never come back to it? Is that the curse of the super deflationary BTC against everything else? And I mean, some would call it a curse and others would call it a blessing, and you just hold on to that BTC and it acts exactly as it needs to be. So then the question of these is, can you trade and catch the pumps? You know, especially when you have bigger cycles. But I mean, really, when we look at it, 2020 for Monero against BTC was not the greatest. It was basically flat, little upside in that summer rally. It was definitely a summer rally of 2020 for everything, and some things got more, some things got less. And then there was the big dump, and some things dumped to lower lows, and others only dumped, let's say, to their lower levels that matched where they came from. And then you got your alt season. This is the alt season of 2021. It was basically a month. You could argue it was 3 or 4 months, depending on when you started it and where you got in. If you're down here from February, then you had a nice 4-month move. But in the last month, you had to get out. Otherwise, you're part of the downtrend afterwards. But yeah, so then yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's hard to say what's the fate of the altcoins against Bitcoin. But I'm very curious what the years ahead will look like, because it either becomes just some sort of small thing that like just becomes nothing. you know, and or they die, you know, like they just die. They die, like in terms of, yeah, maybe there's like whatever price movement, but who's really trading them? The other possibility is at some point they get another move like this, at least to these levels or some sort of level, or they go beyond and they have like an actual impulsive market where there's some sort of change and shift in adoption and usage. We'll see. That's the altcoin against Bitcoin story, and I find it fascinating, and I think it takes place in this kind of area. We find out what these things are made of and what happens in the future. Now, again, these are against BTC, the most deflationary thing. So what does that end up looking like again for a price chart? You know, look at stocks and other things that seem to go up for long periods of time, but they're against USD, and they're basically the recipient of the inflation. You know, it becomes asset inflation. So this is going to be interesting to watch these markets over time. And I think getting good at reading momentum and reading sentiment, right? And also reading price action. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how this goes so that we can participate in these times as well, even just as observers. I'm so excited to see that. Okay, that's a little Monero rant. We're gonna go, yeah, that like the whole privacy idea and what's gonna happen with that. That's why I do think that these charts do have their merit. And at least for Monero, you've got your low and now your higher lows. So what can it be? You really want to hold these lows for some level of bullishness. So if you can hold that and go higher, that's beauty. If not, and you break lower, well, you hope to make a higher low than your beginning low. Otherwise you become like all the other things that have lower lows over time and make a downtrend. Okay, it'll be cool to watch. Yeah, stick around, I hope, and intend to do the same. Okay, so let's move over to Ethereum. And with Ethereum against BTC on the monthly, the monthly, we're starting to potentially have a cross. If we get a bearish cross here, there's been a lot of positive momentum on Ethereum. If we get a bearish cross here, that'll be quite deadly. You're at this 20-month moving average and you would likely fall below. But currently you've got this channeling action. So anyway, yeah, watch for this 20-month moving average. That's your savior on the monthly. Okay, you might just have a little negative momentum and then back into the positive, and a little negative momentum, get into this 20-month moving average, and then go higher. We'll see, but yeah, there's this MACD potential cross here. We're going to watch for the MACD cross. I think that's the big one there. Yeah. Okay. On the weekly, anything of note? You've pulled out some. You're still on top of the 20-week moving average. It traded below there last week again, but it closed on top. So it found support there. Let's see what this week looks like. That'll be interesting. If it can get a pop to the upper end of the Bollinger Band, at least for some relief, that would be solid. You do have potential to go into positive territory further. Do we have a cross? It's not quite crossing well with the MACD signal lines, so it's not clear. It's like the momentum is definitely not clear there yet. What's going to happen here? So again, you've got the Ichimoku cloud here for support, relating to that 20-month moving average as well too, probably. So that's Ethereum for you. Yeah, looking decent, but at the same time, it sits on relatively negative momentum potential, bearish cross potential. Okay, now let's run over to XRP. This is just going to be a massive view of all of these charts, weekly and monthly levels. Yeah, it looks like we're potentially breaking down, but again, we're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band. Could get some lower negative momentum, and that would be a push lower down to these types of levels, it looks like. And we miss a chance to get above this cloud and test this 200-week moving average, which means that's bearish. It's not guaranteed yet, but it doesn't look super hot. Lots of rejection underneath the 20-month moving average. Oops. Wix price tried to get above in the past month, April, price broke down pretty hard. So, yeah, it's going to take some time probably. Again, the alts against BTC, you know, it's really going to be interesting to see what it looks like in 2024, 2025, and so on. Oops. Yeah, I don't have much to say about XRP. If we look at this monthly level, that's an important monthly level to get over, just to be, you know, somewhat bullish. What's this? Oh, that's Ichimoku clock probably. Okay, done with XRP for now. Link against BTC. Link against BTC on the weekly, breaking down important levels. Let's see what happens next. But you know, you haven't even gotten into the negative territory with your MACD signal line. So it could keep going longer. If you're making new lows on the RSI, could keep going lower. You're just at the lower end of 40s. Could get into a bearish territory. You're at the coming towards the lower end of the Bollinger Band here. So maybe that's where you get a bounce. Let's move it. Oh, that's the monthly. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is all on the monthly. It's good. It's going to take a bit more time. On the weekly, they're kind of ugly here with this kind of bounce relief and then duck down below. Just a lot of negative momentum. It's going to be difficult to repair this one. Is it going to make a reset all the way down? Like if we take our retracement levels, it's got a ways to go. I mean, I'm thinking you're coming down to these levels at this point. Might as well. It's gonna, but then that takes even more time. It's gonna repair. It needs to repair. This might get ugly. There is hope. You're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band. It could bounce here. You know, you've completed some negative momentum. Could kind of find a bounce, but I guess we're looking at this greenish level as the potential bounce level. Let's see. Okay. And on the monthly, yeah, could just pop down a little bit lower if it needs to, down to these levels here, get some bounce there. We'll see, but we go top to bottom to top. You're at a 78.6. 1-to-1 is down here where we said, and so okay, well. Chain link still on a higher low, but how long does that last? We'll see. Chain link was another one that had this is a monthly price chart. I mean, like this had the nicest run up on the monthly level in terms of the time it took. It was not a huge single 2-3 candle pump. Yeah, time-wise, we're looking at like spring of 2023. This is going to take that long? Could be. Could be. You know, maybe you get a relief bounce in between. But yeah. Interesting. Stick around. Stick around. Okay, so we've got BNB now. it'll be interesting to take a look at the monthly after we've broken down some decent levels here. However, on the weekly, we've broken down, like we couldn't hold this. We broke down this 20-week moving average, couldn't hold it here. I mean, it was just rejected with selling. And now this week, well, as the 20-week moving average is lowering down, the price is kind of challenging it by getting lower as well. Otherwise, in the previous closing week, it did close below it. And I mean, this is definitely an intermediate, pause candle, got a wick below, relatively equal to the wick above, very thin body candle, and it's expressly below the 20-week moving average. What you've got going for this though is, you've had prolonged negative momentum, but you're still above the zero line with this MACD signal. So potentially, if you can get a bullish cross, that would be positive. Otherwise, you might need more negative momentum in this move. And I mean, being below the 20-week or fighting this 20-week moving average, I guess will be the signal. If you start breaking below 20-week moving average significantly, then that I guess will be the sign you'll be getting negative momentum here. Otherwise, you might find some positive momentum moving higher. Having said that, just broke down below a decently long uptrend, which had these two touch points, broke below it. So look for this lower end of the Ichimoku cloud, which is below the Bollinger Band though. So that's the other thing. You've got the Bollinger Band, lower end of the Bollinger Band has potential support. Otherwise, you're going to expand lower. So on the monthly, what do we get? Wow. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Does it need to come down to this level here? This uptrend? That would be scary for the BNB holders. That would make another one of those shapes, right? Like some sort of head and shoulder action. That would be terrifying. The other option is to make some sort of other moves. But I don't want to really cloud with that information. Right now, we really have, we're going to make a bearish cross here. So that is not a good signal. Good chance of making a bearish cross, MACD cross here. Go into negative momentum on the histogram. And then continue lower with the RSI on the monthly, probably to these levels here. Yeah, if you make a bearish cross here, you've got this kind of redistribution area. Okay. In that case, yeah, you really want to watch. Like, I don't know if you can go that much sideways for that long. We'll see, but I'm going to hide these for now. Will I even remember that they're there and hidden? We'll find out. Wow, BNB potential MACD bearish cross there. Next level would probably be down here. Like we're looking at something like this. Anyway, that's long term. Let's keep it on the monthly. All right. That would also be a 61.8 retracement. I mean, that would still be relatively bullish if you could bounce off there and go higher. Anyway, let's not wish that upon anyone. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but here we are on a monthly time scale. When this bullish momentum on the monthly began, it was down here. So if we go negative again, the last time it retraced, well, from its push up, it retraced lower. So it did more than 100% retracement, just a bit, but it basically closed around 100% retracement. And if you take the low move, then probably it didn't even do 38. Yeah, it did basically a 38% retracement. So in this case, if it let's say does a, let's see what it's doing. So hey, that's reasonable. Hey, if you come to 38 retracement, you're at this price level, you'd be making a higher low. That's possible. So maybe we're looking here first. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're looking there for BNB. That's definitely a possibility. Okay, but who knows? Not high. Yeah, new perspective. You can definitely come down to this price levels here. And interestingly, that would be roughly around. Now, who knows how this is going to act, but there's a lot of flattening here. So it might just continue flattening. This 200-week moving average. Let's see how far back that takes you. For a while. So there's all this flattening. You've just added this move up, and now you've got more flattening. So what's happening with this 200-week moving average is likely going to flatten a bit continued. And that's right at this price level where we marked out. So that's reasonable. I mean, come back to the 200-week moving average. The problem then is you're below this Ichimoku cloud. What happens then? I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, anything is possible here in the near term, but that longer term monthly price chart definitely says a lot. Bearish MACD cross potentially coming here. Okay. I would like to recognize that the last time it didn't need to go negative. The MACD signal lines didn't need to go negative, and then they crossed it and went much higher. So it's possible on the weekly that they don't have to go negative. But you know, so often they do, even just a little bit or a lot. Okay, what's coming? There's also the potential that crypto is going to be like massive, and there's things that are going to get even bigger, and BNB might be one of them. So let's see. What I'm looking forward to seeing is how does this MACD play out? How does the bearish cross play out on the MACD, and what does that mean for price on the monthly? Okay, so stick around to find out. Okay, now we go to Origin Trail TRAC against BTC. And what do we see on the weekly? Testing this uptrend, that's probably going to break it. It's probably going to come down to this 200-week moving average down here. Since you're kind of breaking below the Ichimoku cloud. So yeah, that's the weekly on TRAC. Okay. Continued negative momentum. We'll see. Likely could go lower than this level, but this has respected this zone pretty decently with this nice bounce. Yeah, could go a little lower, right? But it might just bounce off this 200 and find its way. We'll see. Now, at a monthly level, yeah, it's still got some negative momentum to go. So on the weekly, maybe you bounce a couple of times. On the monthly, Well, you're in a decent position overall. I mean, would be good, but the only issue here is last month you closed below the 20-month moving average, and it looks like, you know, hey, on the weekly you might, again, yeah, you might bounce around here. So this is a monthly price chart. There's 4 weekly candles, sometimes 5, but usually 4 weekly candles, let's say, in a monthly candle. So, you know, this could look all kinds of ways. Look, it got below here, but then it went above again, and had a decent move this time, and then a way better move to all-time highs this time. But yeah, we'll see. Is it going to be one of these kinds of bear markets back here? Or is it going to be, you know, one of these kinds of intermediate bear markets here? You know, I call it bear market. I mean a correction, a downtrend as opposed to the uptrend. Yeah, let's see here. Don't really want to do much other than get rid of that. Get rid of that. We can keep that for now. On a monthly, it's squeezing the price, and it's just below the 20-month moving average right now. The price is, and we can get rid of this one. Okay, that's it for now. Origin trail. Hopeful this price cluster here can hold you, but then you'd be breaking down this trend, and well, we'll see where that leads. Other option is you find a bounce just below somewhere and then get back above. Monthly time frame. We'll see. We'll see what you end up looking like over the next coming years. This will be a lot of resistance possibly, but we don't have much to say about that until we turn around. Currently, things are looking relatively negative. You know, you got this level of support that you're currently at right now, and if you break that down, then these levels are very likely. You're going to take up this space. Okay, that's origin trail on the monthly. Let's take a look at DERO. DERO has been extremely strong, but at the same time, it is showing signs of weakness as well, and signs that it is in a correction now, and corrections last and they take the shape. Question is it going to be like one of these corrections, or is it going to be like one of these corrections? And I mean, I'm not saying it's going to fully retrace, you know, more than 100%. I'm just saying in terms of time. And on the weekly, you know, it could go either way, but there's a good chance it's just going to roll over and go more negative. But on the RSI, it's in the 50s, so I mean that's not a bad thing right there. It's pretty decent. So DERO could withstand. When we go to the monthly, though, you've got this 20-month moving average down here, so it might. Here's the beauty with DERO. Maybe the 20-month moving average catches up. Maybe it catches up, and all the price needs to do is shop around here, and then boom, it can go higher. Totally possible. Totally possible. Okay. The other option is that it ends up breaking down. Okay, it comes to the 20-month moving average. Oh, 21, and it breaks down further. But because of the weekly price chart, and you've got this Ichimoku cloud here, that's kind of, you know, a strong line in the sand. If your price is gonna break below, then it's likely gonna find the cloud as resistance and keep negative momentum before it can get above again. And if we're looking at the monthly price chart for DERO, if it is going to come down to this 20-month moving average, then that's at this lower end of this price action, and that's there. So is it going to be able to get back above the cloud fast enough? Or is it going to get, you know, rejected at that point and come lower? And then you really hope that you make a nice low here compared to these price action here. And then you can keep going higher. That would be beauty. You'd be making some sort of a 50 or 61.8% retracement. Good to go. That's bullish. That's trending. But oops, that's not what we want. Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is it's looking more and more like it's going to be bearish in terms of like going below the Ichimoku cloud until you're above this price level here, this red line carved out. It's in a bearish scenario. You've rejected at the top of the Bollinger Band. You've got the Ichimoku cloud below you, so you're not necessarily bearish yet in that sense. Like you're kind of neutral, but you go below the Ichimoku cloud and you go below this 20-week moving average, then you're very likely to break below this support and to head down to the lower end of the Ichimoku cloud. And then at that point, sorry, lower end of the Bollinger Band. And at that point, you're below the Ichimoku cloud and it's harder to get back above it. But what does that look like? Maybe that's on the weekly, maybe that if it does break down below 20-week and it does recapture, on a monthly, maybe it's just a wick down and back up. And on the weekly, maybe you make a candle down. But if you start breaking down here, I mean, why aren't you just staying down here? You're already kind of rejected already at this level again, and you're still making lower highs. So that just signals more bearishness, right? That's just a sense of getting. Okay. After something does this, and then it comes to 20-month moving average, there is actually a chance it goes higher. That's great. If you've found support already here, you actually do have a chance to keep going higher. But at the same time, it's hard to say. So I think for DERO, watching the weekly price chart is a good sign, and then getting below these levels here is bearish. Like you'll see it on the monthly when we carve it out. Right here, it's this price level here. Okay, and then on the weekly, you might see it a bit differently because of these wicks. But if we go there to the weekly as well, and we get into the weekly, you'll see it there. And as soon as you get below that level, you're at the underside of the Ichimoku cloud, you're at the underside of the 20-week moving average. You're in a more of a bearish scenario. So we can use this as a good guide. Right now it's neutral, slightly bullish. Neutral, slightly bullish. But you got this cloud and this 20-week and this line area, you start breaking lower than that, you're bearish. Neutral until you break above this line here, the red one, then you're bullish above that line, especially if you can start, you know, making some nice price action above these levels, but into these levels higher. Beauty. All right, well, for now we said neutral, and the weekly is better to look at for that. The monthly is a bit more of a challenge to see. And then we've got lower levels carved out already. But by that point, you're below the 20-month moving average, and then you're really in a bearish scenario. Okay, that's DERO. Monthly price chart. Now let's look at Icx. Weekly price. What we're really looking for here is, are you going to break below this rectangle, or are you going to hold it? And when we go to the monthly, you're really at like these monthly candle body levels. So you're pretty close to being in a very bearish scenario. Now, this is an interesting MACD. You're in the negative territory, and you've got this kind of bullish momentum, right? You've got the MACD above the signal line, and you're in green histogram, but you're in like a negative, relatively negative momentum in the positive green histogram. So it's kind of ugly now at this point. Back here, you really wanted to break above and start claiming new territory or previous territory, but didn't happen. And it's just looking more bearish. Now, the big question again for alts is going to be, are you going to get even more bearish and correct even further down below your lowest of lows, or are you going to find a new way to get up and higher? It'll be interesting to see over time. Yeah, like, do you ever reclaim your previous highs against BTC? That's such a difficult question to answer, and we won't know until future. Yeah, that's Icx against BTC on the monthly. Let's move to THETA against BTC. This will be interesting to see on the monthly, because on the weekly, well, oh, wow. On the weekly, continuing towards negative momentum. Again, we're going to get a weekly cross, possibly. We haven't yet, and it might not, but there's a possible bearish cross again. Maybe not. Maybe it's just signaling, oh yeah, we're going to cross, but then it doesn't, and a smaller mountain histogram makes a bigger one following. And we are at the 200 week moving average, and we are at the lower end of the Bollinger Band. So it's possible that we turn around here after a capitulation, but that might not be the case just yet, and it might need to go lower. So we'll see. On the monthly, yeah, wow. We don't have the 20-month moving average as support. Oof. This negative momentum has been going on for a number of months, but it could still keep going. Yikes. And you're only here. You might need to come all the way down to these levels. I mean, okay, I don't know what it looks like, but maybe you come down here and then you go down here. Oh, where do you go from there? That's what it might end up looking like. Crazy. We'll see though, not necessarily. And it might find some other pathway. So good luck, THETA. But right now, you last month in April, you broke down below these previously carved out levels right here. That's important stuff. Engulfing bearish, and broke down below these levels too. That's not good overall. So your suspension continues. THETA on the monthly. Okay, ADA BTC on the weekly. Yeah, still flirting with that lower end of the purple box. And that's it, haven't quite come to this 200-week moving average yet. Flirting with the lower end of the Bollinger Band. Technically trading lower in the week, but yep, and closing lower in the week than the previous lows. So that's significant for that. And let's see where we are on a monthly. But before we do that, we also just got a bearish cross MACD. So further negative momentum for ADA on the weekly. Oh man, we didn't even come and touch this as resistance. That's scary for all of those ones that are above the Ichimoku and haven't gone below yet, but will or might, I should say. But the ones that do, if they do end up doing that, it's scary. Now, previous month, rejection at the closing by the 20-month moving average on the underside. And then bearish engulfing for April. Yeah, what else can you say? You're at the lower end here of these candle bodies, and the next level is down here. So good luck, ADA. Now, if we go to this 1795 or 1800 level on the weekly, yeah, so you're roughly at that like Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band level, 200 a week moving average. So if you can get some sort of support here, that'd be nice, but oof, with all this positive momentum, you might need to get some negative momentum for a little while first. I don't know though, nothing's guaranteed, but wow, imagine that. Imagine, okay, so you're here. If you break down below these, I'm guessing you're coming down here. So break down below these. Oops. Oh, I guess we have that box, right? If you break down below the box and you're coming to this level down here, most likely, and maybe even lower. So you're kind of looking around here, something there. But I mean, at that point, why not just come down here? I don't know. Oh, maybe you're lucky and you get to stay here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. First, you need to break down below here, and then we'll see. Maybe you get your support somewhere else in between, but it looks like you're going to continue lower on the ADA price chart. Currently at, now, you know what? Maybe you go to your 886 level here. That would be super bullish if you can come down here. That's why now we prepare for loading up, and maybe this is a loading up level right here, 88.6 level. That could be I mean, it's very confluent with prices. That would be super duper level. But not, you know, who knows? Who knows? We'll have to stick around to find out. That's for sure. We'll have to stick around to find out. Okay. And rather than doing a part two, right, we're just running through this all together for this week. So let's go to Komodo and Friends and take a look at the Pirate Chain R against BTC. On the monthly, we are dropping below this 20-month moving average. So in the previous month, we found a red candle down towards that 20-month moving average, closed just around it or above it roughly, or whatever, just like at the 20-month moving average. And then currently the price is down and below it, but we'll see what that means. We're at this next level here of price action, closing and opening. But that just means there's a chance that Pirate Chain, among the others. Wow, what is going on here? We haven't really built any. Ooh. Okay. Well, we don't really know MACD, what we're getting just yet. RSI, we're in the 50, but definitely could fall lower. And if you fall lower than this 45, I think you're getting even worse. The danger here is that this chart needs to look like one of these before it can go higher again, if at all. That's what that looks like. But I don't want to be catastrophic here. No need to be catastrophic. On the weekly time frame, you need to hold this 20-week moving average. I mean, the good thing you've got going for it is that you've had a lot of selling red candle weeks. So you can hopefully have some green at some point, but I mean, you've had that before over here. A lot of red and then a bit more red and then a couple of greens intermixed, but mostly red. So is that what's going to happen here? You're going to break down even further? I mean, it's possible. Made a lower high here than this previous high. And now the danger is you start making a lower low than this. Oh, you don't want to make a lower low than this. Otherwise, why not come down to the lower end of the Bollinger Band down here, which would be just at the top level of this price here. I guess that's possible. I'm not trying to be bearish, you know, it's FUDing and all that kind of nonsense. But look, you're again close to a potential cross again, bearish MACD cross. I'm not saying it's going to happen, okay, but they might cross again. All right, and if they cross again, that's going to be further negative momentum, and here it is. Makes sense. You get a big positive, you get a big negative, you get a smaller positive, you get a smaller negative. Possible. And a lot of the selling pressure is during this part of the positive. It's the relatively negative momentum as part of that positive histogram. And a lot of the, sometimes depending on the cycle, a lot of the like the uptrending price is during, well, if it's a new cycle, it usually starts like right around the cross, you know. But anyway, okay, we won't get into that right now. The point being is that you could get into negative momentum again, right? And not be surprised about that, okay? On the monthly, you have no idea. Oops. So that's pirate chain. You have this 20-week moving average. If you don't hold there, I'm guessing you're coming down to the lower end here. It's just what it is at this point. And on the monthly, I mean, you've already broken below the 20 months. So is it possible to close below and then break back above? Yes, totally possible. But I mean, even here, you had you broke below here 1, 2, 3, 4 months. I mean, it fought with that price action. So if you're just gonna deviate here, you only made it 1 month above close, and then the next month you break down towards the low and you get below it. That's not good. You would want to hold it and then go higher and show strength. But that's not happening. So this is against BTC, and it's very likely that this needs to chill out a bit longer. What can you say? And we'll see how this 20-month moving average also interacts with the price. But it goes very slow. It's a monthly price chart. Okay, that's it for pirate chain. It is important to hold this 20-week moving average. Otherwise, change of sentiment. Okay, so that's pirate chain on the weekly and the monthly time frame. Let's look at KMD coming towards BTC, but first KMD on the weekly time frame, continuing to make lower lows, and yeah, that bearish candle towards the lower end of the Bollinger Band on the weekly. And now it's kind of doing just a bit of a sideways move. Okay, there you have it. More weakness for KMD on the weekly. When we go to the monthly, for now, we'll just keep it at this monthly price chart, and yeah, it just looks bearish, and there's not much to go off of this. Not much to say other than what will it look like in time to come? Again, you've got this kind of relatively negative momentum on this positive green histogram. So what does that end up looking like? It'll be interesting over time to see what these price charts look like. BTC is definitely one to hold, though, compared to altcoins. You don't want to get yourself hurt just buying high and then holding to the death. But at the same time, you can get your life changed through the altcoins. That's KMD against BTC on the monthly. You could definitely get life-changing gains by getting into the altcoins. Like those of you who were into the pirate chain before it jumped up so high, or in DERO, like those of you in DERO against BTC, if you got in before it pumped high, that is a massive move and a massive life-changing scenario. Okay, here's BTC on the weekly. We are within the Ichimoku cloud, below the 20-week moving average. Not much else to say there. Continued negative momentum. On the monthly, just broke below the 20-month moving average in April with a strong close below that level. So what does that mean? Well, I've carved out here the 34 moving average. So 34 period moving average. So this would be 34-month moving average. And that coincides with these low levels of price action here, these wicks. But yeah, that's a bearish move by BTC. Might need a bit more time. Who's to say? BTC was not one to bring the MACD, even after the bearish MACD crosses, it didn't come below the negative, like into the negative territory. It stayed in the positive territory. So this might not need to come to the negative territory, but how long did this, I mean, let's see here. MACD cross to the MACD cross. MACD cross to MACD cross. If it's one-to-one, we're going until 2023, the beginning. This is January of 2023. So interestingly enough, you had a MACD cross here, and it goes positive here. If we're looking for that, then we're looking at January of 2023 as a one-to-one. That's an interesting little time analysis. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. But yeah, there you have it. BTC, are we making a flat pattern that's going to go higher soon enough? And this is just a bit of a deviation below the 20-month moving average. Or does it need to continue its downtrending momentum? I mean, over here on this chart, it hasn't gone below the 40s. So who's to say it will again? I don't know. I mean, it could stay in the 50s here, possibly. We'll see. Maybe deviate into the 40s. But maybe it doesn't need a lot of time below this 20-month moving average. We'll see. Although having said that, you know, once you get a big move up and then a MACD, bearish MACD cross, it should take a bit of time. Unless somehow this is like going to be a killer move. It's possible. It's possible it does a killer move, but this seems more likely, you know, where you take more time. It just seems more likely that it's going to take more time. Okay, I think that's it. I don't know how much more time it needs though, but the monthly chart says it needs a lot more time. The weekly chart says it doesn't need as much time, but this break below the 20-month moving average is not. Well, it's not looking promising on that level, especially when we take into account this bearish MACD cross and the negative momentum that might need to play out in terms of time. But in terms of price, that doesn't mean the price has to go super low. It just means, you know, if we're taking another November, December, if we're taking another, you know, 8 months, 6, 7 months, 8 months, that's tough to handle, but maybe BTC can make its price not volatile and just go sideways. That's the only hope. It's gonna be really interesting to see this MACD play out. Okay, I think I'm done. That's BTC on the monthly. Evermore, it looks more and more like it needs more and more time for these patterns to play out. And just like the others, if you go below this Ichimoku cloud significantly, it's going to become resistance, and most likely, and that means a lot more time in this negative territory, and then you start challenging this price level here. Start challenging this stuff right here. And I mean, do you even make it down here? I don't know. The markets can be so crazy and they can hurt everyone, it seems like. So I don't know. I don't know what ends up happening. Part of me doesn't want to consider, like, not that it hurts emotionally, it's just that it just seems like it's strong enough. But again, sometimes it looks like you're getting this kind of uptrending environment or whatever, but then it breaks below it, and then that just takes more time and the price is down. You also have these horizontal levels, but then they break down, and it's just what's in between. You've got nothing in between here. It doesn't need to come all the way down to the bottom here, but you're gonna have to bounce somewhere. But it's like, anyway, your best bet is low volatility, meaning the price doesn't have to go very far. I mean, you know, for BTC coming down to 30K, 28K, 29K, if it can hold there, that's low volatility, in my opinion. So low volatility so that you can take up some time, right? And then go higher when the time comes. You know, maybe it doesn't even have to be that long. Maybe it's just like a bit. And then you can go higher, but this is crazy. It's going to be very interesting to watch. So stick around for more. Monthly roundup once a month, weekly roundup every week. If you're still watching, bless you. I'm done for now. I'm wishing you all the love, peace, and happiness you can handle. And until next time, goodbye.